Hello, look at the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
We're back again for some more war cinema review or whatever that, go for these old war films, go back in time and take a look at them and whatnot. And we mentioned this so many times, like in the last, 10 episodes, somehow it would come on up here and there. We're like, Enemy at the Gates, that movie's great. We should go back and watch that. And so we're like, you know what? Let's go watch some Enemy at the Gates. And ironically, I remember I kept telling you that this Uncommon Valor was connected to that lockup with Stallone. And I was like, oh, it's connected to my Enemy at the Gates, which now makes me wonder what the hell that Stallone movie's connected to if it's not Uncommon Valor.
Right. That's a funny combination, too.
Yeah,
Uncommon Valor and Enemy at the Gates.
I'll say it makes way more sense than Uncommon Valor and Lockup.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, maybe Lockup's combined of something else, more like a Dolph Lundgren movie or something like that. That would make more logical sense, I guess. Right. But Enemy at the Gates, 2001, pretty much the movie that's like, it's the Soviet sniper movie. Generally, if you know those war movies, it's like, oh, yeah. It brings up those kind of memories and whatnot like that. It has the big Stalingrad scene at the very beginning. And this is a movie that I want to say the first time I saw this is literally back in the day in our high school or whatnot. I think Mr. Shaw, showed this in his history class. And it was like, oh, this is really legitimate. He showed pretty much like mostly all the movie. I remember he fast forward through the sex scene or something like that. So you just saw it in old fashioned VHS super speed.
Right.
And then, continued on. But and I remember finding a lot of good movies in that class. That was like my takeaway there. Is there was that one I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a road trip movie. I think he showed it the very end of the year, or maybe he showed it during Driver's Ed or something goofy like that. But it was where three brothers have to take their dad passes away and they have to take this car cross country. That was in the will. And I think the dad did it it wasn't necessarily about getting the car to about them bonding because the boys didn't get along in life, but maybe this one road trip will be what does it. And I was like, oh, pretty cool.
I didn't do driver's ed, so I missed that one. It was definitely not in his history class.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't even know why it was really in driver's ed, to tell you the truth. I know there's a car in it, but
right.
I guess it's better than showing us Days of Thunder or something like that, and then be like, let's go.
Oh, that would have been more fun, though. That would have been way more fun.
Like that scene where Tom Cruise and what's his name? And they take those rental cars and just beat the living daylights out of them, get into the meeting.
It's Tom Cruise and
yeah, God.
Yeah, because he's Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly,
I'm gonna be so upset that I can't think of his name because I fucking love that guy.
He said Michael Rooker. There we go. And there goes your phone.
Whoops.
It's like you just did a face plant.
Right. I got so excited thinking about Michael Rooker.
Yeah, he's great in that movie.
He's awesome. I mean, he's in Tombstone. He's part of the Red Sash gang. Days of Thunder. He's in Walking Dead as one of the coolest characters in the Walking Dead TV show.
I didn't know he was in that one.
Dude, he's in so much shit.
He's in so much stuff, and I always feel like I keep discovering him in things and whatnot. He's not an Enemy at the Gate, sadly, but you do got a bunch of big names in here.
Dude, yeah, that's one thing that I always am blown away with. And I gotta say, since you said the first time you saw Enemy at the Gates, first time I ever saw it was around 2001. It was probably 2002, maybe 2003. I went on a cruise ship with my parents and Adam Gold and his family. And me and Adam Gold watched it in the theater that they had on there. It's their little stage. They had two little tiny projector screens showing the movie on each side. And it was Enemy at the Gates. And I remember Adam ended up leaving because he was they're on the train. It was boring. And he was like, I'm going to go back to my room. So I watched it by myself. And I just remember being blown away.
Yeah, I feel it's a great movie. It's that seems like kind of an Adam thing that he wouldn't have the patience to wait through a war movie.
Well, he didn't want to watch it. And it was one of those things where when you're a kid, cruises are boring.
Yeah.
You can't fucking do anything. Everything costs money.
Well, because I remember I was only on a cruise once as a kid, and I remember it was my grandma took like the family or whatever on a cruise. I was only 6 years old, so it was 1993 or 4, and it was one of those cruises to like Mexico and whatnot. I just remember being blown away by the arcade. That they had an arcade on there and whatnot. They had like Turtles in Time and so on like that. And
right, but it all costs money. You could only play so much.
Yeah, you can only play so much. And then I remember there was the movie theater thing. I don't remember that costing any money, but I remember
that was free.
Yeah, because I think what I think they were trying to do, because they were showing movies that like were not out on you couldn't go out and get them on video yet or anything like that, but they might have been just shot in the theater. So kind of like how airplanes used to be, because airplanes used to do that too, where they in that like 1 year period where you had to wait between cinema to VHS and whatnot and DVD, is that they would show movies there, and that's where you could kind of catch them. And I think that was kind of how the thing was, because I remember seeing The Mask with Jim Carrey like on the cruise ship.
Right. I think that's what it was, because it was like the movie was like still new. Like it had just came out like not that long ago. And I was young. I mean, by myself, watching it in the theater, just like, shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're going to get these Soviets and so on like that. And, and just speaking of, like, the cast, I mean, you got Jude Law in there. You got Joseph Fiennes. You got Rachel Weisz, who I always think of from Mummy. Like, that's the one that, like, always... I just literally watched through 1 and 2 not that long ago. Of course,
Rachel Weisz is awesome.
You got old Bob Hoskins as Nikola Khrushchev, which I think is pretty
Ed Harris.
Ed Harris, that's the best part, I think, is Ed Harris.
Yeah, Ed Harris, Ron Perlman.
Yep. Yeah, there's just a crap ton of people. I forgot about Ron Perlman. There's like one of those ones, once he popped up, like, shit, Ron, I forgot Ron's in this one, too.
You see what I mean, though? Like, how silly it is, though? Like, go back to a previous podcast we did talking about this movie. How everybody's speaking with a British accent unless they're a Nazi. They speak like Americans.
Yeah, then they speak American. Yeah, that's the one thing. I was like, because I don't know why I spaced that part out, because I remember you mentioned that. I'm like, did they like, for some reason I don't remember that, but it's been literally years, maybe even a decade since I've seen this movie last. It's one of those ones I remember watching it a lot when it came out. Like I got it on DVD and watched it a few times, past seeing it in school and then seeing it a couple more times, and then I probably hadn't watched it probably haven't watched it since the 2000s, let's be honest. So it's been a long time. And you mentioned that, and then when I'm watching this, that was all I could think about. I was just like, dude, almost everybody speaks with a British accent. There's a couple like real side actors that actually use an accent. At least Bob Hoskins uses an accent a bit, as Khrushchev and everything, but for the most part, yeah. And I will say that's like the one thing in hindsight of watching this movie. It's still a really good movie, but that does take you a fraction out of it. Because when you're watching it, if you weren't really paying attention, it feels like you're watching a bunch of British people that just happen to be fighting with the Russians.
I like it because it lets you know, like, I've seen this movie a lot, and that's why I recognized this a long time ago. This is, fun fact, one of my mother-in-law's favorite movies. Which, like anytime it came on TV and we'd be at like their house or something, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'll watch Enemy at the Gates with you. I get to watch, Nazis get shot in the face.
Yeah.
Like fucking sign me up. but it kind of like, it gives Ed Harris's character like a different edge. Everybody has an accent except for Ed Harris. Ed Harris is a decorated soldier fighting for the Nazis. He trains tons of snipers. Like he runs a sniper school, trained Russians back when they were still friendly with each other. His son was a lieutenant, probably, one of those like believed in the Third Reich, was part of the Blitz into Russia, gets fucking schwacked and dies in Stalingrad, right?
Yeah.
And because I'm pretty sure that's the backstory. So like there's even a scene where, I can't remember what they say. I think it was like some Nazi commander. It was like, like the glory of the Third Reich and Adolf Hitler's plan. And Ed Harris just kind of has like a little chuckle. And he's like, sure. Like, of course, the grand Third Reich. And he's like, what'd you say? He's like, nothing.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah. So it gives him like a different edge. Like his character is different. Mm-hmm. Like, he's menacing. But he's also like kind of charming, like his and Sasha's relationship. through the whole movie until he burks Sasha. But it's like it gives him like this edge that none of the other characters have because his is the only one with no accent.
Yeah, well, he has an American accent. He just doesn't have a British accent.
he doesn't. He's Ed Harris. He's like, I'm going to be Ed Harris in this film.
Yeah.
But it gives his character like a different edge compared to everybody else because he's the only one. He's the only one with no accent.
Well, because it's one of those ones I almost thought about. Like, is this movie made by literally England? Is that why? Like, so
right.
Yeah, I want to see. It just says like every country known to mankind's involved with it. Well, never mind. So maybe it's not. Like, because I was wondering if it was like a straight up British movie. That was like
it's directed and produced by, I'm gonna say he's French, Jean-Jacques Annaud.
Yeah. Well, he did that 7 Years in Tibet. He did.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Quest for Fire and all kinds of stuff. So he did a bunch of stuff.
That was my favorite Brad Pitt movie for the longest time. Was 7 Years in Tibet.
Yeah, there's a lot of good takeaways from that movie that are like,
it's so good.
Oh,
he did Two Brothers, the Lion movie.
Yeah, so he did a bunch of stuff there. But yeah, I'm guessing that dude is of French descent. so you get kind of a whole European kind of like thing going on here with this movie. But it's one of those ones like, and I know a lot of movies were like that for the longest time is you just didn't see accents. I know because Quentin Tarantino was the one that kind of brought that up, and that's the whole reason why Inglourious Basterds, like, he makes sure that everybody has the accents in there and so on like that, And it does make you kind of wonder if if you did have people like really when they're, if Ed Harris did really go double down on the German accent or anything like that, it would seem kind of maybe odd now, but like, maybe fitting like, I don't know. The weird ones, it's not really Ed Harris. I feel like I could kind of like bypass there. I think it's the British accents. They seem weird for Russian.
I think it's because they're trying to be artsy. Or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, there's that weird thing too that like if it's
they're all Brits too though, except for Ron Perlman. He's an American as well.
Yeah. So he just speaks of an American accent almost. No, Ron Perlman uses a little bit of an accent. I want to say in this one, like because there's a couple.
Yeah, no, he does.
Yeah, just like him and Bob Hoskins, they use a little bit of a Russian accent, kind of like nothing too extreme, but just a little bit.
Right. Okay, so this is going to bug me. How do you say his name? I always thought it was Joseph Phineas. Is it Joseph Fiennes or Phineas?
I think it's Fiennes.
Okay. Anyways.
It does look like, if you're an American, you would pronounce it Phineas, I think. But
I've only ever called him Lord Voldemort because, that's who he is. Not to be rude to him. He's fucking amazing.
No, he's great.
That's one thing I forgot. I forgot he was in this movie, which is kind of crazy because he's one of the main characters.
He's one of the main characters, and ironically, he's actually a made-up character. Like, where everybody else is kind of like, well, most of them are kind of historically accurate, like, Jude Law. Like, that dude's like a real, like, Soviet hero or whatnot. You can apparently go to Moscow, and you can see, like his sniper rifle in the museum and everything like that. I'm like, that's pretty badass. And even the Rachel Weisz character, that character is actually real too. And they did even have they didn't have the love triangle weird thing with the Joseph Fiennes one, but like her and Jude Law's character both really did in real life back then. But then they got split up, literally when she gets hit by shrapnel, they never met up ever again. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I was trying to look up what her kill count was, but nobody recorded that, because it's like you can find the kill count of Jude Law's character and stuff. I think he has like 255, recorded kills, but she was like literally just as decorated, but obviously, it's just a woman. I guess we're not going to record her, kill count on there.
Yeah, and that's one of those to where it's kind of hard to really discern how much Vasily Zaitsev actually killed.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of propaganda involved.
That, and it's because he was used to kind of scare the Germans and make them feel like they're winning. And then you always never knows, like maybe he has a way higher kill count, because you know what I mean? Like who's to kind of say? And after a while, like, I mean, for some of those guys, like how do you even keep track necessarily?
Okay. The coolest Russian sniper though is Lady Death, Ludmila Pavlyuchenko. 309 enemy combatants she killed. She is fucking awesome. Anybody who likes history podcasts, go look up Daniele Bonelli, History on Fire. And he has a podcast on Lady Death. And he tells the story of when she met Franklin Roosevelt's Eleanor Roosevelt. And they like hung out together. I guess they were homies. And I just always thought that was the most silly thing ever in the world. You know, you got this devastatingly deadly Russian female sniper, you know, who just wants to go back to the front and kill Germans. That's all she wants.
Yeah.
And she's hanging out with Eleanor Roosevelt, you know, driving around in her car.
Yeah, just casual, you know. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. It's like Snoop Dogg hanging out with Martha Stewart, you know, one of those kind of relationships.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing, is that there's so many of those Russian like ladies that like literally have like, you know, tons of like high kill counts as snipers and so on. There's so many proficiency in that, you know, because this is at that part too where it's like, you know, like the Russians are just losing people left and right, and anybody who's got any skill, like by all means go for it. I mean, this movie even starts off with the whole Stalingrad, you know, like kind of like battle where like they're sending them across the like the little river thing there, and they're like, okay, you guys run in. If you guys turn away or run away, we're gonna shoot you right here and there.
Right.
Don't worry about those planes flying over. You take a gun. You take, you know, the 5 bullets. Go figure it out on the battlefield. If the guy dies carrying the gun, you pick the gun up.
Yeah. That's the scene that I always think of when I think of this movie, is like the train. You know, they kick all the civilians off. They lock the train doors so no one could escape.
Yeah.
They you know, jet up the armored, you know, tank fucking engine for the train and drive them off to the war zone. And they open up the gates, and all the dudes are just like, oh my God, what the fuck? And they're just dragging them off the train, shooting guns into the air. They're like, get on the fucking boats, you fucking cowards. Just, you know, people are getting schwacked in the water, not even making it to the front. They finally get there. There's not enough guns and ammo for everybody.
Yeah. But plus, even when they're crossing the boat, there's like the planes that are coming by doing the air raids.
Strafing them.
So like,
yeah,
exactly. And there's just guys bleeding out and everything. There's a scene like when Jude Law is like literally getting out of the boat, and it's like it almost looks like the boat's like sinking, but it's like no, it's just filled with blood.
Yeah, dude. In that part, the man with the rifle shoots. When the man with the rifle gets killed, the one with the bullets picks up the rifle and shoots.
Yeah, exactly. Repeat, and that guy's just saying that over and over again.
Fucking crazy.
You know, so they just have to go run in there and just defend the living daylights out of Stalingrad, you know, from the German invasion.
Dude, if I owned a grocery store, I know this is a hard shift, but if I owned a grocery store, I would want my person on like the speaker, or just anything where there's a dude on a speaker. I want the German propaganda guy, where he's just like, Russian comrades, we are not your enemy, we are your friends.
Yes.
You know when
they're driving around the tank, and it's like, you know, come on, join the Third Reich, live your destiny.
He sounds so silly. It's almost like comic booky, like German accent.
Yeah.
Oh, comrades of the Red Army, the Third Reich are your friends.
Forget this communist, you know.
We are not your enemy. Bloodthirsty Joseph is your enemy. Yeah, I want him, you know. We have a special on steak on aisle 12. Use your coupons.
The store is not your enemy, it's your friend. What are you waiting for?
Glorious shoppers of Stalin's the Red Army grocery. Come now. Special on vodka and caviar.
Yeah, so as this is going on, everybody's just dying left and right and whatnot. And you get to this point where, like, Jude Law is literally taking cover in this giant, like, well, or not well, like a wishing well type thing. And there's
it's a fountain.
or a fountain. Yes, there we go. And he's hiding between the bodies and whatnot. And the Germans are coming by and they're doing the thing where they're just like shooting up all the bodies just to make sure, give them the old double tap. Don't trust anything, even if it's lying down. And
Lord Voldemort crashes his car.
Yeah,
with all his pamphlets.
Yeah, they all shoot up in the air and everything like that, and then somehow runs over there too, and then grabs the rifle first. And there's about all of 5 Germans there. 5 Germans, 5 bullets. You know
what I love too is like it shows just how, at least in that stage of like the conflict, just the Germans pushing into Russia, how badly the Russians were like were off guard and just got steamrolled. Because it's like, homie was like, I'm going to take a fucking shower, where we just got done massacring these dudes like 5 hours ago. But there's no Russians left because we killed them all.
Yeah, we just massacred. I know there's a bunch of bodies literally all of like, 20 feet away from me, but that's okay.
Right. I need to shower, man.
Yes, it's just nice overweight fella too. So he carries his portable shower with him and everything, and I was gonna say Ralph Fiennes, not Ralph Fiennes.
Joseph Fiennes.
Yeah, Joseph Fiennes. So he grabs the rifle and he goes to shoot it. He obviously can't tell that there's no bullets in it. He's literally a pencil pusher. And then they realizes that Jude Law's laying there. He's like, you know how to shoot a gun? He's like, yeah, I know how to shoot a gun. Give me that gun. Loads it up and everything like that. And then you have these really badass scene where it's like he's got the 5 shots and he's got to time them right. And it's like one of those ones, he's like, wait for the sounds of the explosions and everything like that. So he blasts, the dude taking a shower in the head. Nobody really seems to notice it at first. And then like his like butler guy or whatever kind of turns and looks, oh, dead body there. And then boom, takes that dude out. And then has to literally take out these last couple guys. And with literally, if he misses one shot, that's it. And he gets them all. And so on like this. And with those 5 shots, he is now promoted to like high-ranking sniper rifle because he survived Stalingrad. And now they're like, yeah, this is a damn fine shot. And he just happened to meet the dude who runs the newspaper, running the propaganda. So it just is all working out well.
Damn, this is embarrassing. I have Joseph Fiennes mixed up with his brother, Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes is Voldemort. Ralph Fiennes is Voldemort. Yeah, fuck Joseph Fiennes. I don't even know who this bitch is. I thought he was his brother the whole time.
Yeah. As I said, I don't even know. I was trying to think. I was always like, maybe he is Voldemort. I'm like, I can't remember. I'm like, oh no, that makes more sense.
No. See, I got him confused with his brother, who like his IMDb is like so much more impressive. Anyways,
yeah,
yes,
Joseph Fiennes
in Bruges.
Yeah,
Schindler's List, Skyfall, Harry Potter.
In Bruges is my favorite one there.
My favorite movie of 2022, The Menu.
I don't think I ever saw The Menu.
You never saw The Menu? Oh, bro.
I think so.
You got to watch that movie. Go into it like I did and just like expect a comedy and you'll be not disappointed at all.
Okay, good. That works.
I think it's supposed to be a comedy, I guess.
I thought it was. I do remember when it kind of came out, but
I think I'm the only person in America that enjoyed that film. Anyways.
Yeah.
Lord Voldemort's little brother.
Joseph Fiennes. He's in a bunch of stuff, but nothing that's, you're like, oh yeah, he's probably just there. This is probably his biggest movie.
Yeah. And like the rest of his career, I'm going to stop. I'm just going to be mean at this point. He has issues with his Mosin Nagant rifle, which I have one. It could be a real bitch to use sometimes. And, it probably was very neglected and, that action was pretty fouled up.
Yeah, I bet you it was not easy to, probably those rifles have been banging around in the back of a box, getting there from God knows where they were sitting at beforehand, Right. It probably had a spent, round in the chamber, and he, without trying to, it never would have clicked at all because the hammer would have dropped already. But for some reason, he has a misfire. Yeah, somehow, some way,
Right.
Well, that gun, even in video games, that gun's not always like the easiest one to use.
Well, it could be a pain. Like it's it's a tank of a gun, to be completely honest. And they're like notorious for being like very inaccurate as far as like those old World War II battle rifles go. But I mean, it's like one of those like, I guess like it's a very important scene. You have the desk jockey, right? The political officer who's trying to work the action on this rifle so he could kill this high-ranking German, and he can't fucking get it to work. And the shepherd boy from the Euros.
Yeah, he instead, he grabs the gun and he's like, you know how this works? He's like, I do. He's like, let me show you. You know what I mean? Like,
let me load this
grandpa
clip in here.
Yeah, showed me how to like, kill in this intro scene in the movie, where I was supposed to shoot this wolf and he just tied up our horse out there as bait.
I know, right?
And I missed.
I'm sorry, grandfather.
Yeah.
Please forgive me.
Yeah, I guess we're eating horse tonight.
Dude, that scene is awesome though. Like that is like a live action version of like Sniper. Is it Sniper Elite? Yeah.
Yeah, Sniper Elite.
Where you're waiting for the sound, like the noise to muffle your gunshots.
Yep. Yeah.
Which honestly would not work. Like, the bomb going off, but that's a loud fucking rifle. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's still gonna carry through. The only thing I guess is if it depends how close that the explosion sounds are. Would it just, you would probably still hear it, but you would be like, well, you might not know exactly the direction it came from. I guess would be the only thing.
Right. Fun fact too, where they're shooting out of that well, where it's a little hole, probably like that big, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's sticking the barrel through, and he's not sticking the barrel through it, like he's shooting into the hole.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is one of my favorite movies. So I did that before, and I went to this like little like gun range that's out in the woods, and there's these like two giant boulders, and there's a little window in between the boulders. I got down and prone, and I set my targets up, and I think I was there with my brother-in-law, and like I had my carpet down so that I could lay on it and not be in the dirt, and I was like, enemy at the gates, and I shot through the rocks, right? Holy fuck, dude. When that muzzle blast hit the rocks and reverberated back on us, we were both like, oh, God. Even with, like, earmuffs on, I was like, fuck. Dust was like...
So
it's a big round.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the fact that, you see them in the movie, and they're just this huge clip and everything like that.
Yeah, it's 7.62 by 5.4R. It's a big fucking beefy round.
Yeah, so I can see where that would make a whole lot of reverb as you blast those rocks, let alone shooting it in that well,
Yeah, that would have sucked. Dude.
Yeah.
Danilov would have been like, oh, fuck!
So yeah, they take those dudes out and whatnot, and then this is kind of like that's like the start of this movie, where it's like, in a sense, like if Saving Private Ryan has the D-Day scene, it's like this movie's like, well, we're gonna do the Stalingrad scene, and that's gonna be our big old.
It's sick though. It's sick.
It literally is one of those ones, like, it makes sense why you would show this in a school if you need to explain the Soviet side and Stalingrad and all that stuff, when you're doing World War II history. It's like, here you go, watch this cool scene. You know what I mean? It'll explain this all to you.
Right.
You get a lot out of it, and there's a lot of carnage there and everything like that. And this giant war scene to start this movie off. And then the movie kind of goes into being like, okay, well, now it's like, this giant war scene, and then it becomes more like this back and forth sniper battle, which is like so cool. But it almost it drops in tone, but it's not like it throws anything off. But then it's like, here's Jude Law running around. At first he's got like a couple other guys with him and so on like that. And there's just like, it's like the one crazy couple that he's got that like end up dying like right off the bat. But there's like, it's almost like they're like, we're so in love and like we're hanging out and we're sniping and everything like that. And then the dude gets like blasted in the head. It's like, oh, there goes that.
Well, that's one thing that's really interesting about this. So it's like, you have the old commander basically shoots himself in the head when Khrushchev shows up.
Yeah.
Old Bob Hoskins shows up on scene. Yeah, dude. And, that's when you have the not Ralph Phineas, but Joseph Phineas, Joseph Fiennes.
Yeah.
he basically is like, let's use propaganda. Let's use propaganda to like raise the morale of our troops. And I kind of look at the sniper team that's with Jude Law's character as like they're just there to set him up. They find the targets. Jude Law gets on the gun. He shoots them, and then they're like, let's go get their dog tags for Jude Law for the newspaper.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they are. They're just like, go round up the dog tags. That's your job. Hopefully you don't get shot along the way, but I'm covering you. You're good.
Right. Not that he's a fucking animal behind the gun. I mean, talk about being accurate as fuck. Like, all his shots in that film are fucking amazing. Shooting a telephone cable at 150 yards or 154 yards or whatever it was when he's with Ron Perlman's character, that's pretty sick.
Yeah, and I love how they do. They're like Ron Perlman's just like, just do that so we can kind of fuck with them and so on like that. And then they send that poor bastard out there. It's like, okay, this is your German job. You're gonna put the fucking reel on your back and you're gonna crawl out there and try to rewire this telephone line.
Right. Yeah, fuck that.
Guy gets shot in the head. It's just like, I look at that, I'm like, dude, talk about getting the worst job right there, man. Like, you just know you're gonna die. You are literally carrying the stupid telephone line to your death.
Right, and they make the captured Russian guy do it, just like he knows he's gonna get shellacked.
And that's what Jude Law's like. It's weird. Why would they send out the second guy? They knew what was going to happen. And for some reason, Ron Perlman was like, I don't know. That's just what Germans do.
He's like, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about. Oh, no. He says, and it's one of the coldest lines. They don't care about telephone operators. It's like us with the Ukrainians.
Yeah, I remember.
You're like, what?
Yeah, especially you hear that now. It's like, still sounds about right.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, apparently a Ukrainian's the equivalent of a telephone operator. So I guess if you're a telephone operator, then you're the equivalent of a Ukrainian.
Well, I mean, they did starve Ukraine, before World War II. But,
well, Rob Perlman's sort of there to kind of give you he's like, here's this older gentleman sniper guy who's going to give you some, what he thinks of the Communist Manifesto and everything like that,
Oh, right. Yeah, he's completely disillusioned, 100%.
Because this movie's one of those ones where both it gives the disillusion to both the communism and of course Ed Harris does the same thing with Nazi Germany and so on like that. They use those characters to be like, yeah, don't whatever. We're just getting through this. Don't worry about it. It's not going to probably work out the way that they think it is.
I love too the little touch that they did because it's not like. They took a lot of liberties in this movie. But it's like when they found those sniper Mosin Nagants, basically when they tested a Mosin, and they're like, wow, this one's more accurate than our shit Mosins that we just give to our infantry guys. Let's slap a fucking scope onto this. And the scope they have is pretty weak, Yeah. I think it's called a PU sniper scope. They're not good. And then you have Ed Harris's Mauser, which you could tell had all kinds of work done on it to make it as accurate as possible. He's got fucking a big ass piece of glass on his, and it's all crystal clear, and it's got milled dots and everything, so he could really gauge his windage.
Yeah, he could probably sit down and have one of those Solid Snake explanations of how well the craftsmanship is on this gun.
Yeah, 100%. It's so much better, and you have that dichotomy, even just their uniforms and what they wear when they're going out. Ed Harris's character looks like a professional, and it's one of the things Starship Troopers does so well. That fucking awesome uniform. No, I'm not a Nazi. I don't love Nazis, but goddamn, did their uniforms look good.
Yeah, well, that's
and
the
then
thing
you have the piece of shit Russians.
They're just they're literally strapped together with whatever they got, wrapped up with practical towels.
Right. But when you're a German and you have literally your uniforms are made by Hugo Boss, you look good. You look good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing is Jude Law's getting all these confirmed, kills. They got the propaganda train going hardcore, telling him that
he's dropping officers left and right.
Yeah, so that's where they're like, you know what, we gotta send in the big dog from Germany. We're gonna send in Ed Harris. You know what I mean? We're gonna send in our best top elite sniper to take him down and whatnot. And that's where you get this kind of cat and mouse battle as they're like going through all the rubble and all the destroyed buildings of Stalingrad and whatnot. And,
Right.
it's so cool for some of these ones there too. And then of course, you know, you have just the different characters that are getting taken out. Like when Ron Perlman gets taken out because he's there just for a
That's
moment.
nuts.
Yeah, and it's like they keep doing the same with like, okay, we just quickly jump across from, you know, one story to the next in this fallen building and whatnot. And if we just go real quick together, you know, mostly no one will see us and anything like that. And I think this might be where Ed Harris, you know, he's talking to Sasha or whatever like that, who's this little boy that's everybody seems to be friends with, but then he's like, you know, he's kind of like a double agent and whatnot. And he's like, not only does he give information to Jude Law, but, you know, he can't resist a good German chocolate bar. You know, I don't think anybody can. So that makes you give out some information back to him. It's just so funny because it's just like he's sitting there and it's just like he's shining fucking Ed Harris's boots and whatnot like that. And he's just slapping this stuff. He's slapping it down like he's slapping down like a stack of $100 bills, but just like one chocolate bar. Oh, it's not that good enough. Second one. You know,
Right.
here's some other, you know, snacks.
Here's a can of beans. Here's a big old slab of bacon.
Here's some sauerkraut.
Yeah, right.
the good kind, not your Russian sauerkraut. We got good old German sauerkraut.
He relocates. He jumps between the buildings.
Yeah, so here's a cool. I'll go wait over there, you know. And then as they're jumping across, Ron Perlman goes first and just gets blown right in the head and just falls down, just dead right there. That's
right.
Taken out, you know. And when people get taken out in this movie, they like legit. They have some good violence. I kind of almost even forgot how good it was. You know,
it is really good.
Head. Yeah, you feel it, you know.
Yeah, Papa Kurikov or whatever he called himself.
Yeah.
The story he tells about, you know, he went to Germany to be trained to be a sniper for the Russians.
Yeah.
And then the war kicks off and they question him if he's a traitor and they knock all his teeth out.
Yeah. So that's why he's got big old like grill now.
Yeah. I love the line he says where he's like, that's your communism, or he's like, that's your communism in action. There was no sickle, but there was a hammer.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that one. You just happen to be over there training, you know, what they told you to do, and then you came back and they didn't trust you.
Right. Yeah, fucked up, dude.
Yeah, you know. And that's just in that time period where like it's sometimes you kind of get it's like, well, who can you trust sometimes? It's just like that weird like point, like obviously you can't trust Sasha. He's giving out stuff left and right, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, Danilov was basically using Sasha.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I just like how like that mom's just kind of fine with like that boy free roaming out there and just, you know, talking to God knows who all day long.
He's playing in the rubble. He's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
My Sasha's a good boy. He brings home bacon and chocolate.
Yeah, he's bringing home all these gifts and so on like that. So where he gets it, it's best I don't ask, you know.
Right. It's Russia. It's a different place.
Yeah.
1940s Russia.
There's even the point later on where like they literally tell the mom, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, Sasha went and joined the Nazis, you know, and everything like that. He's out of here. He's done. And she's like, what? And then afterwards, she's like, well, maybe that was a good idea. I think Sasha's in a better place now.
Right.
I think those Nazi boys are gonna win. You know, like she really like turns that like card real fast. I'm like, you know what? I'm fine with that. I guess I'll take the boat across the river again.
Right. Yeah, I can leave. It's cool.
You know,
that part's pretty fucking metal though, where Ed Harris is like walking Sasha to his doom.
Yeah.
he's like, you know, shame on you, Sasha, for making me have to do this. And you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, he's like, you fucked up. You fucked up, boy.
His tone never changes though. Like he talks to him the same way he talks to him through the entire film.
Yeah. He's very straight with him. You know what I mean? It's just, hey, you knew what was going to happen if you messed up, and you did.
Right. I also love the scene where Rachel Weisz she decides. That's another thing I didn't pick up on this is how almost every single one of the characters, besides Vasily, is a Jew.
Yeah.
I never picked up on that.
Yeah. Well, and the weird thing too is like I read up on that character, the whatever Tanya or whatever her name was, and the actual one because I was just kind of interested. It's like, oh, so she's a real character and all that kind of stuff. And apparently she came from the U.S. She was like a U.S. Jewish Russian initially. In the story, it's a little bit different, or in the movie, it's a little bit different. But apparently, she came from the U.S. She was already a sniper, and she went back to Russia to go like try to save her family, and that's how she got involved in Stalingrad. Where in this one here, they had it where she was like in school, so like she was educated.
She was training in Germany.
Yeah, she's training in Germany and all this stuff. But then she's like, you know what? I don't want to just be a translator and all kinds of stuff like that. You know, like give me a gun. Like I'm going to go out there and show him who's boss. You know, that was her.
When she talks about how her parents were killed.
Yeah, so she goes over that and everything like that.
Right. I like how the desk jockey was basically like, oh no, that's awful. But you know, you can't fight. You just can't fight. And then she tells Vasily, you know, her heart-wrenching story about how her parents were murdered by the Germans. And he's just like, this is like Kurylikov's rifle. It's a fucking good one. You know, go kill as many Germans as you can.
Yeah, he just slaps that gun at her and just stuff like that.
No hesitation at all. Just fucking kill him. Okay.
So it goes to show if their love triangle comes up and one guy is trying to, you know, persuade the lady to have a desk job and to stay at home and so on like that, and another one just gives her a gun, that's the one she's gonna go for.
Guns win hearts.
They always do. So you know what? Especially if it's a good gun too, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, dude. I love all the little touches too. Like, you know, I don't know if that would ever like really happen. Like when Vasily finds Ed Harris's character's like half-smoked cigarette. And he's just holding it and smelling it, and he's like sitting off by himself. He like lights it. He's like, oh, I'm learning things about my enemy.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
he likes fancy cigarettes.
Well, I feel like there's, you know, just all the cool like, you know, trickery and stuff they do because like there's this like pipe thing that like that they crawl through and whatnot. And of course, once again, Sasha the boy, you know, gives up the locations and he's like he crawls through a pipe and that's how he reaches where his destination is. And Harris is like cool, so he goes there and then when they first show the scene, I think this is when Ron Perlman's still alive. It could be the dude beforehand. There's a couple many miscellaneous people that are always there, like the weird couple that's like hanging out with them for the moment. But when they come out the pipe, at first they're like, oh geez, there's a sniper up there. So that it's just a dude who got blasted right there, right in the eye, and his body's just left holding the rifle and everything like that. So they go back and forth, not thinking anything of it. That's just part of the scenery now. And I love when Ed Harris goes and takes that guy and just scoots him back and then gets right in that exact position right there.
Right.
You know, to wait for him. I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
That part's cool, yeah. That first part where he is fighting them and he kills his like Vasily's first two followers, the couple in the department store. That scene's nasty. He's like stuck up against like where the mannequins are.
Oh yeah.
Right. That part's fucking dope.
Yeah, just all the cool hiding and just to see like the diversions and all that cool stuff there. It's like the one thing there's always thought was really cool is like in Call of Duty World at War. I love how like I think it's like literally level 3. They have the total like enemy at the gates like sniper battle scene in there, which is one of those like, oh that's I remember that was like, oh that's so cool, literally the Stalingrad battle and whatnot like that, and you got to find that German guy. Yeah, it's a little bit different in that one, but it's pretty much the same thing.
What was that World War II like online like multiplayer shooter?
Oh, the God, it came out a couple of years ago. I know which one you're talking about. Old
like Counter-Strike. It was like
there's Medal of Honor.
This was like PC only. Damn, I can't remember what it was.
Well, other than the big ones, Medal of Honor, Battlefield, Call of Duty, the original ones. I know there's some of those like Vietnam ones. I know it's not probably the one. Yeah,
I'm looking right now.
You might have to look up what that one is. Did they have one of those levels in there and so on like that?
Yeah, I think it was called like World of War or something like that, or damn, I can't remember. It was made by, I want to say it was made by the same people that made Counter-Strike, but they had uh I can't,
They had
oh, it's gonna upset me that I can't remember it.
it's always how it is when you go look for some of the
Day of Defeat.
Oh, Day of Defeat. That would have never came to my mind. Huh, I never played
Oh, dude. So it was kind of like the same days like when Counter-Strike and Quake were all the rage.
Uh-huh.
But it was like basically almost like I don't remember if I bought it. It was so long ago, but it was back when I had my PC and like I play games mostly on my PC, like at least online games.
Yeah.
And you know, it's an online shooter only. Like there was no story, just like Counter-Strike. But the levels they had and the Stalingrad-esque level was my favorite because you could like crawl along like the the refuse of like buildings and things were all crumbled and there was little walls and little holes that you could fight through and like it was basically like capture the flag style or team deathmatch, just like very basic game style. But I always liked doing one where you basically have to like push the line of enemies back. You're just trying to gain ground. And that was like one of those games where it was like snipers were a real problem. And it, snipers and machine gunners. And then everybody like your assaulters would have to rush in. But you would have like Stalingrad-esque, sniping battles as good as you possibly could get it for like 2004, 2005 video games.
Well, strangely enough, I think some of the battles in those days were actually much more intense because it wasn't so continuous reloads and respawns and all kinds of stuff, and people didn't just run in like willy-nilly the whole time. Because that was when you used to get those like real standoff like sniper battles where like a couple guys would be left and they would just be literally like in prone position waiting for somebody to kind of like break their cover.
Right.
And I used to love that tension that you would get in some of those, where especially when the match would last, I'm like, somebody's gonna try to run out at some point, And I feel like you just don't get that really too much anymore. I mean, there's probably some game out there that still kind of captures it, but so many other games nowadays just feel like chaos just unleashed, and then whoever's the most chaotic. Because the downfall is they do it by point wise. It's like back in the day, it used to be lives, and I think lives was a little bit better because it made you like hold on to it a little bit stronger. You're like, you don't
Right.
just go waste it when you have unlimited respawns. Who cares?
Well, even Battlefield kind of became silly. I don't know. I've become very disillusioned by modern online shooters. It's just not the same as like, back when we were in high school, those like few online shooters that I played.
Yeah.
Minus Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike and Quake are like their own thing. But the ones that weren't as much like that, it was fun. I enjoyed it. And I enjoy anything World War II.
Yeah,
like that just like makes it so much better.
I always get excited when there's like I remember like some people are like playing like, well, Call of Duty's going back to World War II. I'm like, they haven't done it in like 10 years. Like it's been a while. Like I think that's cool.
Right.
It's coming back, and we were literally like 2 console generations later. Like let's do it.
Right. I don't think it was done very well though. Was it?
I like that World War II one. It was like the best way to describe that last one, where it's just Call of Duty, it was just WW2. I call it like it's like the greatest hits of World War II battles is what that game kind of was, because you had like the Battle of the Bulge level, you had a Bridge Too Far level. They're all generally. I don't know if there was. I can't remember if there was any Japanese occupation type stuff.
I don't think so. That was the one where Vince Vaughn was a voice actor in it.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, yeah, I played it.
Yeah, I thought, well, campaign wise, I thought it was good. I liked it. It was like, yeah, it was definitely greatest hitsy, but I didn't think that was a bad thing because you didn't see, PS4 and other graphics were real good and something like that. The last World War II one was World at War, the one that had the Stalingrad level and so on like that. Which, don't get me wrong, I love that one, but yeah.
It's funny. So when I played that game for the first time and Vince Vaughn was like a voice actor, I was like, this is fucking stupid. Vince Vaughn in a World War II thing. Like, this is dumb. And then he was in Hacksaw Ridge, and I was like, okay, I can't talk shit anymore. He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Well, I think Vince Vaughn's actually kind of better when he's in more serious movies because I always think of him from like Lost World first and foremost. So everything like, past that, when he was in the comedies, I'm like, what is he doing? Like, I felt like it was always strange to me.
Have you seen the one where it's like Rumble and Cell Block whatever or something like that?
I don't think so. Is that a serious Vince Vaughn movie?
Kinda. It's kind of silly.
Silly.
I'll give you. No, I don't think so. I mean, I enjoyed the movie, but like I have pretty low standard. Brawl in Cell Block 99. Put that movie on. Put that movie on one day.
I'll have to throw that on. That has that like straight to DVD sounding title, but it still sounds good.
It's pretty silly, but I mean, like, he's a big dude.
Yeah.
Like, Vince Vaughn's not small.
No, I always think, I personally think he should do more action movies. I think that's where he actually is better at.
Right. He's 6'5". He's a big fucking guy.
Yeah, that's a professional wrestler height right there.
There's a scene where he literally, like, I think he, like, rips a door off a car because he gets mad at his girlfriend for cheating on him. Or his wife, or whatever she is. Dude, it's a fun movie. Put that on, have a couple brews. Yeah. And just like chuckle. Like I just laughed through the whole movie. I don't know if it's intended to be laughed through, but
I do that anyways in movies. Like it doesn't matter. Like I just feel like I'm along for the ride, and I'm gonna have a good time no matter what, even if it wasn't the intention of the film.
my wife, we watched Tropic Thunder recently, and like we're just like laughing about Tropic Thunder, and she was like, they should show this in school. They show like, like if they keep going further and further, like, the woke stuff's kind of dying down. But if like they kept going further and further, they're like, they need to show like Tropic Thunder as a PSA. Be like, this is what we used to do in movies.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because you go ahead.
Well, because she was like, it would red pill half the class because they'd be like, I want this. I want this back.
Well, because like I think we've even mentioned it before on the podcast, me and you together. But that late 2000s into very very early 2010s, like I felt like that was that era where movies were just going hard no matter what. Like I used to always say, is like you go to the cinema to watch an action movie, you were always guaranteed good violence. Didn't matter what it was. And Tropic Thunder was the one that kind of proved that. I'm like, you go see a comedy and you still get good violence.
Right.
Because that was the time of Rambo 4. You had Punisher Warzone. Expendables 1 and 2 were both very violent. Of course, the Quentin Tarantino movies. Grindhouse, all that stuff. It was just there was a lot of good movies just back to back to back to back that were just like, oh, these are super violent, and it's almost like one of those ones like they're not going to cut away, they're not going to do it the soft version, so on like that, and. Yeah, you need more of that in life, less of everything else. Because then it did take only a couple of years later we started getting the back to the PG-13 era.
Right, but talking about like school PSAs and films being in there, I was like, it doesn't matter because they could show like a classic work of like film history. Like, do you remember when we were in elementary school and we had to read Of Mice and Men?
Yeah,
and then we watched.
I don't think I was there at that time period because I don't remember reading.
You weren't there? Fuck. Okay. I wonder who it was. It could have been just me and RJ then in the back of the room. But so we read Of Mice and Men, and then the film they showed, which is the best version, it's the one with fuck.
Because I don't even think I've seen the film of that, to tell you the truth. Realistically,
it's the 90s version. I'm pretty sure that's the one we watched.
That sounds about right. The 90s is when those movies started to get kind of dialed in enough, at least, that like you'd be like, yeah, you could show this. It's either that or they're
actually no, it wasn't. It wasn't the John Malkovich version. It was the old one, the 80s.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not that cool.
Anyways, we watched this whole movie, right? What's the big dude's name? Is it Larry? Or George? I think it's George. And George is like, I did it, Larry. I did it. And he kills everybody. And, Larry's going to shoot George in the back of the head. And he shoots George. I fucking like wait because you know the whole class is like quiet, and I go like, I did it, Larry, I did it. Whole class laughs. Teacher gets mad, just like, no, you're ruining the moment. This was supposed to be a learning lesson.
I learned something.
It's like when we had to watch Where the Red Fern Grows, and like the dog gets put down. Were you there for that one?
No, I was there for that. I missed out on all these ones.
Okay, and then somebody, I don't remember who it was, but it was just like, stupid dog. Fucking ruined it for the whole class. She's like, oh no.
When you're in a classroom environment, you got to just expect that to happen. Somebody's going to have the comment and so on. It's not like you're sitting at like, you know, like in a sense, like a film showcase where everybody's there for the prestige of it.
Right. Yeah, like you got a bunch of kids. They're going to be stupid.
Yeah, you know, just expect it, you know.
Right.
But yeah.
But I mean, it's kind of interesting. I don't remember Mr. Shaw showing that class or that movie in that class, but then again, by that time, I didn't pay attention to anything in school.
Yeah, well, he showed some good movies. I just remember, like, I think we saw a little bit of Saving Private Ryan. So
I remember that one.
Enemy at the Gates, you know.
I got in trouble a lot in his class too, though. So
I mostly just sat in the back and played video games while, you know, still doing stuff. But
that was the class where
you slap the backpack up on the table, and then you put your book up, and then you can pull out your, you know, DS, PSP, or Game Boy, you know.
Right. That was the class where RJ would crawl under the desk and eat half of Cisco's lunch. I'm pretty sure it was Mr. Shaw's class.
There was a few of those classes, you know.
He did that multiple times.
Yeah, because my favorite part about that story, and it might seem like one of those ones like, boy, this is talking about like something really like the whole, it's hilarious. Because he would do the thing where he would go over, like sneak over Metal Gear. He would sneak over like it was Enemy at the Gates style, you know, and open it up, and he would eat like half a sandwich, put it back, eat half of the chips, put it back. And this is my all-time favorite one. He would open the soda and he would drink half of it, but then he'd put it back while it's still open, zip it back.
and never get caught.
No, it's just the fact that to leave the soda in there up, and like, and in his mind he was doing it when he's like, well, I don't want to eat it all, that would be rude.
Yeah. That's so fucked up. Oh, that's so funny.
It just makes me laugh when I think of that.
But that's why I never paid attention, man. I think Mr. Shaw's class, I had Kyle in it too, and then I really didn't pay attention.
Too much excitement. It's that weird one that realistically you think about this when you get older. Like, if you really want a kid to learn, separate him from everybody else. Like that's the
dude.
That's literally the only way you're gonna do it right. You know, you put 30 kids in a room and then give them any kind of distraction. Forget about it.
You remember this is so fucked up. So anybody who's listening to this, just know this was just fun, you know. But who was it that took your book on the cover of your book, put a bunch of like Nazi iron crosses and swastikas all over it?
Oh, that was John Garcia. Because we had a thing that, like, you know, you would jokingly like put a swastika in to see if someone would notice it on their paper. so horrible. You know, and then of course I had like a hammer and sickle on there and everything like that because I would draw. Well, me and John got in trouble really bad, like in like third grade because we were super obsessed with Red Alert, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
And we used to do these things called battle plans. which is probably not the best title. And what it was is it was like a paper version of playing Command and Conquer. Like, so like you would draw your army on one paper, and then he would draw his army on the other, and then we would combine them together and do some like a rudimentary turn-based battle. You know, I don't even know how like the rules and stuff like that worked, but because we had all this stuff, and then we also used to have fun by taking like the school newsletters and then trying to make them warified propaganda. Yeah, they caught us with one of those ones, and it was like one of those ones like, because you know, jokingly would be like, a nuclear bomb test will happen today. Are you prepared? You know, and then there's one where it's like, you know, like it has like some guy's name. He's like, you will be executed later for treason. So we had all these war things that like they brought us up, and they're like, what are you kids doing? Like, this is like,
what is wrong with the youth?
Yeah, exactly. You know, why are you so obsessed with this war and so on like that? And so lo and behold, that kind of carried on anyways into high school to people putting a little swastika on their papers. And then one of those sniffing drug dogs came by, and, you know, not only does the dog sniff out, you know, drugs, it also can sniff out hammer and sickles and swastikas. Like, yeah. And I remember just being at the principal's office like, it's John Garcia. It's like, he puts it on there. It's one of those ones. It's like, oh, you got me. You know, like, you know, it started with like butts. And,
it's not funny.
Yeah. Well, then he gave me the thing. He's like, well, you know, I went over there, and I was in Germany, and we were having a great time. You know, we went on this big trip across Europe and everything like that. Saw all kinds of sights, saw all these things. You know,
was this Mr. Hellstab?
Mr. Hellstab, and he's like, yeah, and then we, you know, we took this train, and we were going to go on a little tour to see Auschwitz and everything like that. And when that train went through, it came out this tunnel. Everybody was silent. You know, let me tell you, everybody was there, and nobody was laughing anymore. It wasn't fun. It wasn't all this stuff. It's like, you get John Garcia in here. Let him know. He says, I didn't put this on here. I just happened to have the paper that had it there.
Dude,
you know?
You remember when...
This is the... I got to say this. There's a follow-up to this. That was the same counselor guy, too, that also... I remember when... Because it felt like all of us probably went in there round and round.
Oh, dude,
like,
yeah.
You know?
He got me all the time.
And I remember there was one time because, you know, I was in the, you know, the movie making and like the music and all that stuff. I remember he told me the story. He's like, you know, I once knew a guy who was into, you know, stuff similar. You know, he was into acting and all kinds of stuff like that. Gay. And then... He like just dropped that. I was like, what? And somebody's just like, yeah, you know, he moved out to, you know, South Dakota and everything like that, and people didn't really take it well. And yeah, if you don't remember, he was gay, and they killed him. Yeah, I was like, where is this going? Is this like trying to get you like, don't be a filmmaker because, you know, filmmaking, all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're desperate for money, you're doing gay porn, then you move to South Dakota, and then you're dead. The rednecks don't like you.
Dude. So,
like, hey, you know, the more you know, Counselor 101.
Well, he had those all the time, you know, like that was his thing. And he did see all of us, like when I walked across the stage and he gave me my diploma, he goes, Mr. Bullock, oh, we made it. I didn't think it was going to happen for you. In Mr. Shaw's class, remember when the battered women shelter came by and gave like a whole spiel about like sexual harassment and shit?
Yeah.
And we had to do a survey, and me and Kyle were right there, and I wrote on my paper, I was like, it'd be a lot better if Susan, you know, danced on the tabletop when she tried to tell us about sexual harassment. And Kyle's like, oh, he like grabs my paper, he's like, oh, that's so funny. He like puts something else, like shakes her ass too. And I was like, take my name off of that. And Kyle's like,
Does it?
He didn't erase my name. So I get talked to by Mr. Hellstab, right? And the ladies are there, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. This was just a joke. And when I got back out, I saw Kyle later, and I was like, dude, he didn't erase my name. And Kyle just goes...
That was just how it was. Yeah, you kind of got thrown under the bus, and it was just a Tuesday.
Dude, I got in trouble so much with Mr. Hellstab. When I broke my leg and couldn't do work study anymore, and they moved me into Miss Horak's class for journalism, and she fucking hated us. She hated you. She hated me. She hated our entire friend group because every single day in typing, we didn't do one fucking assignment.
No, we just played on it. We'd hook up the emulators. We would play some like Gundam Wing Versus on Super Nintendo. We would just blare music like we fucking owned the place.
Yeah, and we would not listen. So like I show up and it's halfway through the year and she's like, you're going to like have to make up all these assignments. She's like, I didn't want you in my class. I was told I had to accommodate you. So you sit in the back and you don't distract all these ace students. And it was like, you know, all of like her kid and like all their friends, although that little group, that preppy group. Mm-hmm. And basically I was the second class citizen in the back corner and I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. And, you know, I had none of us there. So it was miserable. So I went to Mr. Hellstab.
You didn't have the gang, so something.
I didn't. Our gang wasn't there. So I go to Mr. Hellstab and I was like, I'm not going back to that class. And he's like, well, Mr. Bullock, you're a student here and your job is to attend classes and you're going to have to attend the class. Okay. And I was like, I'm not going back. You know, you're going to go back. You're going to attend the class because that's your job here at the school is to attend classes. And I was like, I'll show you, dude. I'm not going back. And so I skipped 3 weeks in a row. Just went home early. Every fucking time. I never went back to that class.
Realistically, she was like, good. This is one of those ones like, it's like a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing.
She didn't report it for 3 weeks.
No, because she probably was like, it's probably better for her.
Yeah.
It's worth,
she was happy.
For everybody. Yeah.
Right. So he caught me on crutches, like hobbling down to my truck. He's waiting at the stairs. He's like, come to my office. And he doesn't say anything. I sit down in his office. He shuts the door.
Walk way farther with your crutches and then
oh, dude, he didn't wait for me. He didn't wait for me. He like beelined it to his office. I had to meet him in there like as fast as I could. And I get in there. I sit down. He's like, well, if anything, I guess you're a man of your word. What are we going to do here? Is detention gonna work? And I was like, I'm not fucking going back to that class, dude. So I got to be his assistant for like the rest of that year.
Did he make you pick weeds with your hands?
No, he made me run notes on crutches.
Well, that sounds better.
Yeah, and then I got in trouble because a girl I fancied, I got her out of class with a fake note, and we were making out while class was going. Outside in a hallway. We got caught and I got in big trouble for that one. That one was fucked up. He called the sheriff. Her dad was the fire marshal for the county, so he's like in there and he's all mad and he was like, you know, trying to throw the book at me because I was a senior, and he was just like, I want to press charges. And that's when I came up with the greatest line ever, because you got to remember, this is 2007. The war on terror is going strong. And I look at everybody in that room and I go, sir, I understand what I did was wrong, but I don't want this to stop me from joining the Marine Corps so I can go fight for my country in Iraq. And he was like, all right, yeah, we can let this slide.
That's all it took. Let's just take a little bit of that.
I know, dude, Mr. Hellstab was so mad because one, he gave me that job that I abused my power on.
Exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. The thing about, you know, you give a teenager just any little bit of like power. It's like, wait a second, what can I do here? Let's push the limits. Let's see what can happen.
Right. And then like I also had Heelys because those were cool at the time. And I remember I fell one time carrying a bunch of printer toner right out in front of the office. And it was like used toner, right? So it's in an open box. And I fell and it fucking went everywhere. And Mr. Chiquetta, the poor like maintenance guy, had to come like sweep up toner. And it's getting all over the place.
Oh, man.
Oh, fuck.
Well, see, like one time he made me have to go pick weeds with my bare hands. I don't know why.
Did he really? That was your punishment?
That was my punishment. He's like, this. Well, because it got to the point where it's like, he's like, you have literally more detention than there is time left in school. So
oh my God.
Let's go pick some weeds and we'll call it even. But he didn't give me any tools. It was just like, what? He's like, oh, rip off your bare hand. I don't care how you do it.
Just go work, boy.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Did you know his son was in the army?
yes. Or it wasn't
Okay.
his not his son. It wasn't his nephew or something like that.
No, his son Jake was in the army. Uh, I would always ask him if his son told him that if he killed people yet. I was like, Mr. Hellstab, did Jake drop any bodies yet? And he would just look at me like so disappointed, just like, what's wrong with this kid?
You know, the thing I think about is like, you think of those just in like pocket memories, but it's like he probably has to go through thousands of those throughout the year.
I don't know, dude. We were a special kind of retarded. Like we were bad. I made the chick in the office so mad, like the other like student, like TA office person, so mad one day that she took a stapler that, we were stapling things, right? And I just kept making fun of her because she was being annoying. That she fucking hit me multiple times with the stapler, and I'm like all stapled up on my shoulder, and I'm like, ah. Mr. Hellstab's watching from his office, and I see him, and I look at him. Our eyes meet, right? And he just leans over and shuts his door. He doesn't do anything.
Best not to get involved.
He was like, I don't even want to see.
Nope.
Or one time I was super late, and he caught me. And he asked why I was late. I told him I shit my pants, just like that. I was like, I shit my pants.
Like, what are you gonna say to that? You know what I mean?
He just looked at me disappointed, like always. You know the look. You know his disappointed look.
Yeah, I think we all got that.
Yeah. He probably wished there was a Stalingrad for us to go to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's perfect. He would just send us there in a heartbeat.
Go fight for the motherland.
Load us up on the train, just send us out.
Right.
It's like one of those ones. It didn't help also too, like if you're making movies out there and stuff, because none of those teachers could understand one bit like what the hell was going on. There was just some strange experimental class called multimedia where we were we were out there with no adult supervision, making weird kung fu movies and using whatever we could kind of find along the way.
Do you remember the PSA film that we had to make? And it was like, what was it? I don't think you were in my group. I think it was me, RJ, and Thomas Chiquetta. And we had a scene where it's like, be careful when walking in tall grass, because much like the fantasy world of Pokemon, it can kill you.
Yeah, I do remember that.
And then we had the scene where it was like, always look both ways before crossing the street. And Thomas Chiquetta's walking. He's like, do. And it shows RJ. You could have been in our group because somebody had to pull his eyes back to make him look more Asian than what he already was. And he's driving his Ford Explorer and he's going, what?
I do remember.
Runs over Thomas Chiquetta.
Yeah, I don't think I was involved in that movie, but I remember that one because I think that was like almost like I remember it was like Thomas Chiquetta was doing the editing and everything on it.
Yeah, we got talked to for that one. I remember that. They're like, this is, most of this is okay, but how come he slid down a drain pipe and a tube went up his ass? Like, how'd that happen? And what's up with this like subtle racism? We know RJ's Asian. Like, you made him look more Asian.
Well, that's like when we made me and RJ and Josh Hyatt and Adam Gold or whatever, the whole group of us in that video class. We made one where we had like the adventures, where it's pretty much like it was almost like
the Adventures of Mowgli.
The Adventures of Mowgli, which is kind of like almost like a special ed kind of movie where there's like these three friends and each guy was kind of like, it was almost like a special ed. We didn't really even think of it at the time. It was just like, okay, it's just these three, weird kind of special ed kids all hanging out together, going on an adventure. And we didn't even call it special ed. We just everybody acted goofy, so it seemed like it. and they literally go to a point where they finally get trapped by like the guy that's looking for him, played by Adam Gold, and he literally electrocutes him in a chair because it was the only special effect that we had in iMovie, so we had to like execute it at the end. And I remember we were playing this movie thinking it was just hilarious because it was just a bunch of gags and jokes and so on like that. And about halfway through, we go, "Oh shit, Mr. Campbell, our teacher, he also, beyond teaching this class, he teaches special ed." He's probably like this, like, none of this is funny, like, whatsoever. Like,
oh, Mr. Campbell.
It's one of those ones, like, great class. I love Mr. Campbell for teaching us all kinds of stuff. I felt like that probably had been the hardest class he ever had to deal with for like only like 2 years, and he taught special ed. That's all I thought about, because
that and Photoshop.
Yeah, well, because Photoshop, there's Mr. Kittle, there was that dude who taught that a bit.
Oh, okay.
And mostly that class was just, we would take pictures and then we would literally crop them all together, so it would be like, I remember it was like me
and Mr. Rawlinson too. That was the other multimedia.
Yeah, that was our last year, so we had that.
Did you know he died?
No, I didn't know he died.
He literally drank himself to death.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I think you know a guy. And... Oh, that's the poor guy. I really liked him a lot.
He hated me. I feel bad for being a shit in his class because he let us get away with murder.
Well, I did break technically like every single rule like the very first day I was in that class. That there probably would, like, if there was a list of 10 things, I probably did, whatever. But then it all turned around. Like sometimes there's that thing where you got to come in there, break every single rule, and then be like, "Don't worry, I got this covered."
Right. Dude, Mr. Kittle fucking would get so mad at all my Photoshop turn-in projects because every single one was a version of me destroying his car.
We used to do all those ones because I remember too. I remember there was one of me and I was chucking his car inside like a volcano in fucking Las Vegas and so on like that. Yeah, that's all they were. It's just we would just he taught us. It was like he's like, here's Photoshop, and we learned we can just crop things out and just slap things together here. Like, okay,
we can make whatever we want.
Yeah, So we just went to town on all that and so on. But yeah,
I took a picture of Thomas Chiquetta jumping in a puddle and used the cell shading to make him look like a superhero, but he was, instead of the puddle, he was jumping on Mr. Kittle's car.
Exactly. Just so much of that stuff. It is that thing that I think about, if you're going to teach any of those classes to high schoolers, you just got to assume that they're going to do some crazy shit, and if you expect any different, I think you're just trying to kid yourself. Let's be honest.
Right. 100%.
I just remember, even in Mr. Campbell's class, I remember one time he went to go top. He's like, "Okay, so this is what we're gonna learn and everything like this," and then there's just somebody in the back of the class at the top of their lungs just yells, just like, "Woo!" Just so loud, just for no reason. You would never probably happen in any other class, but just go for it, whatever.
That was like me and Brett going, What's your point?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I feel kind of bad. That's why I think a lot of teachers turn to just throwing on a movie, because a movie just stops kids mostly in their tracks and just gets them to shut up for an hour and a half.
Yeah, take it back to World War II. I remember when what was the Sugg? I think Lee Sugg taught U.S. art. U.S. history.
A lot of movies in there too. We gotta watch Patriot clips and so on like that.
Right. Remember when he made us draw something about World War II, and Brett drew a stormtrooper from Star Wars, and he thought it was the greatest thing ever. And he's like, "What made you think of this? This is so creative, so unique. This is just amazing." Brett's like, "I think stormtroopers are cool."
That is the most primal answer.
Stormtroopers are cool, man.
Get some space Nazis.
Dude, space Nazis are dope, man. Dude, what makes me want to almost go back to is all the Wolfenstein games after watching Enemy at the Gates.
Mm-hmm. I love the Wolfenstein.
I don't know what it is. Nazi shit is so fucking cool.
Well,
Like, there's such a cool bad guy.
that's what I mean. It makes for like the best stories. Like, and the interesting thing too is always the fact that so many of the stories that like they're full on just real. It's like they almost feel like they're fictional and made up. It's like, oh no, that's real. But like that's like it almost is like so intriguing and so creative that it almost feels like it's kind of like fake. You know, it's like that one that I was kind of thinking about. Like in a couple hundred years from now, are people going to look at that and go like, did they just make that stuff up? Like, is that really what happened? And so like, it's like, no, that a lot of that stuff's full on real. You know, if there's like werewolves or anything like that, okay, that was just a movie. But like the rest of that stuff, you know. Sorry, I'm dying here.
I mean, Enemy at the Gates is like a pretty crazy story. Like, just when you think about the film and, you know, the entire story there, like the sniping battles within like a crumbled up city, just a bombed out fucking city.
Yeah, like you think about like this literally like just a couple years prior was just a fully functioning city. Totally normal. Nobody thought anything of this, and now this thing is blown to smithereens from artillery, plane fire.
Bodies just laying there being used as cover.
Yeah, nothing being cleaned up or anything like that, you know, just like that kind of stuff is just ridiculous, you know, when you really think about just that place is just so destroyed. And then the weird thing too is now you can look at that area now. I know it's not called Stalingrad anymore. They changed the name. Like we a lot of stuff happened here. We got to change this.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is anymore.
Yeah, it turned into I can't remember if they changed the name. Maybe it's because like one of the ones, it was probably like a Stalin thing. Like, yo, I don't want my name associated with a town that was just blown to living daylights. But even though
Volgograd.
Yeah, Volgograd. There we go. So I can't remember what year that was changed to, but I just knew it was not the same anymore.
1961.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's pretty early on they changed that. But
that's because Stalin was a twat.
Yeah, he was getting crazy at that point too, anyways, and just
he was always crazy, dude.
He was always crazy. Well, the funny thing too is all those guys like that. The interesting thing to like any of those like great dictators or whatnot, they all start off like extremely poor. That's like the first characteristic they always have. You know, because he was just a poor dude from Georgia. You know, it's a country song when you say it like that in the U.S. But
and he had a funny accent, and he was like the weird kid nobody wanted to play with, and he was ugly.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the same way that Mao was. That's the same thing that like Adolf Hitler sort of had there. They were just like poor kind of regular people that like just rose up.
Well, Adolf wasn't poor at first. He was basically middle class.
Oh, well, yeah, middle class, yeah.
Yeah, but he became poor once, you know, he left home, was a failed artist and everything. That's when they believe, or at least I don't fucking know shit. I have barely read anything on World War II. Unfortunately, all my knowledge comes from podcasts or movies. Yeah. But I want to say I heard that, like, basically he was, like, radicalized against the Jews once he became, like, hanging out with the lower class Germans.
Yeah, I think so, because he saw the regular, like, you know, guys at the blue collar guys at the bar and everything like that.
Yeah.
And what
them damn Jews controlling the weather.
They took our jobs. They took our jobs.
They controlling the weather, pulling their puppet master strings.
Using their magic and everything.
They use that Jew magic to control the weather. I tell you, boy. I tell you now. That's my favorite Jewish, like, conspiracy, like, lower class, weird, fucked up Jew conspiracy is that they can control the weather. I'm like, that's the fucking wildest thing ever. Like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, exactly. That
I want to meet the first dude who made that up.
That's the guy who's in the bar, like, 10 beers deep already, you know?
Right.
Just talking nonsense.
I'm telling you, that Schwartz guy, he controlled the weather. I tell you.
And then the worst part too is somebody believed him.
Right.
One crazy guy is not that big of a deal, but when people start believing him, then you're like, well, wait a second now. What are you doing?
Right. But I mean, that's like a huge part of like the Russian story, like the Bolshevik story, like how many Jews were involved in that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That is one of the things where it's like, I've seen this movie so many times. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that, where I was like, man, two of the main characters in this film are Jewish. Like, they're Jewish people.
Yeah.
And they're fighting Germans.
Well, even the majority of the Jewish people in Germany all generally originated from Russia. Like they kind of like shipped their way over there in like the last 100 years or whatever it was, maybe a little bit longer than that, but throughout time. So that's where it's like I think that's kind of even where that push into Russia was like, okay, well, we're allies for a brief moment while we fight France. Because France and Germany always feels like that's numero uno right there. It's like, you got to get rid of France first and foremost. Because I was thinking about even like World War One. Like, so much of that carnage is really just because of Germany and France. Like, more than anything else. That's really weird. Like, and then it's like England joins in. The U.S. joins in at the very end. Some of the other countries join in. But really, it's Germany and France, fighting it out. And then
they hate each other.
It's Germany and France once again starting it off, or technically I always feel the Japanese started off with China, but that's a whole other theater of war. But
right. Well, and Adolf and like Stalin were like kind of like friendly, even though Adolf hates the Slavs.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to like brush up on all that history, which I did not do in preparation for this because I was like, meh.
Well, it's
I'm pretty sure he hated the Slavs. I'm pretty sure like he thought the Slavs were like subhuman.
Yeah. No, he wasn't. He was just doing an allied thing just for the moment. I think just so he could work his
protect that front.
Yeah, know, and then because generally this Stalingrad part here, like an enemy at the gates and something like that, that's like always the part that I feel like that is really where Germany like really kind of like lost it.
Fucked up. Yeah,
because once they go to fight the the Russians and they lose like 800,000 Germans in this thing here, they can't handle like the cold weather that they weren't prepared for and everything like that. In a sense, they really screwed themselves. Like, if they probably would have stayed allied with the Russians for a lot longer, that probably would have, I always think that was where that would have helped them out, because they would have had the Italians, you would have had that. But once they lost the Russians, it's like, good luck, you know what I mean? And the Russians are those ones, they might not have as much of the technology that the other countries do, but they have the willpower and the, the population.
And the bodies. Bodies.
There's just so many that, because, Russia's ginormous and so on like that, along with its, colonies and so on like. So they could just go to town there, which, Germany's a small country comparatively to that.
Right. That, and if I learned anything playing Mud Runner, which is a Russian game, apparently.
Yeah.
God damn, you do not want to be driving in the Russian wilderness when those roads thaw out.
No.
It's just a mud sandwich.
Yeah,
like, it's so fucked up.
Yeah, just getting stuck on things, having to get the winch out and everything like that.
Dude, that game's so fun, though.
Dude, they have a Mud Runner version in VR that I kind of want to pick up.
I bet that's fun.
I bet you that'd be pretty
I know, we need to play that game again.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That's like, I kind of just like the dicking around, just like literally just doing the off-roading and like, that's it. Like, what I mean? Like, I know there's the missions and all kinds of stuff. You can deliver truckloads of whatever and so on, but there's just something fun about just kind of free roaming.
I like doing like delivering the wood, like, because I don't think we unlocked all the maps for you, did we?
No, because I've only really played it a couple of hours, really, at the end of the day, I think.
Right.
But it was really cool.
I played an unhealthy amount of that game.
There's a ton of
I literally put on like a podcast and I'd listen to like I'd put on like a 3-hour long Joe Rogan podcast, right? Yeah. And I would listen to that all the way through and then maybe start another one to like halfway and then be like, okay, I'm done playing Mud Runner today.
I feel like you need to go collect a paycheck after the time you're done with it.
Right. And like probably didn't make a ton of progress because that's how stuck in the mud you get in that game.
Yeah, exactly. It's like one of those ones. There's just so much like treacherous, like, swamps and mud and hill terrain. And, you got to winch yourself here and try to pull yourself out this way. Get a buddy to come by and try to pull you out the other way.
Right. Use your scout vehicle, try to find like the best route.
Yeah.
you may be able to get one truck through one route, but then like you made such a nasty rut that you're like, I can't use that road again.
Nope, I'm just
that road's fucked.
Yeah, no, that was a good old fun Russian off-road adventure, and even the other ones were kind of. I kind of tempted out or tried some like the Snow Runner or whatever the heck there was.
I tried it too, and I didn't like the way the new levels were, like the new missions. I was like, man, I just want like old school missions. Just give me a map and let me unlock this bitch.
Yeah, just do that kind of stuff.
Right. It wanted you to do like more stuff like go to the hardware store.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck the hardware store.
Yeah, so get in that vehicle and just go tow some stuff out of here. But yeah,
I want to tow some trees, dude.
pull some trees down and get all that stuff there. Put the truck in the 4-wheel low and make it nice and easy.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, Russia, Enemy at the Gates. Yeah, just it's one of those ones like. I think this fits in that great pinnacle time period of like when they just had a copious amount of great war films. You know, generally started with Saving Private Ryan. I feel like that kind of kicks off like this big era of like very late 90s rolling into early 2000s. But there's a copious amount of great stuff here. And I think Enemy at the Gate sits at like one of the top tiers of those, you know.
Right. It's got some silliness to it. The accents are kind of silly when you really think about it, like critically. But, you know, they're trying to be artsy and cute, except for Ed Harris.
Yeah, that's like. There's only two little things that I guess, like in just this rewatching of it, that I just kind of stand out. It's the accent thing, and then I think the love triangle thing's kind of a little bit goofy. You're like, yeah. It's just like, well, whatever. I mean, you know, at least that they don't have like. I mean, there's the one part where like, where Joseph Fiennes kind of goes like, he's like, I'm so mad at him, I'm gonna type up an angry letter that he's not really that great of a propaganda guy. Boo, 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 boo. And it's like, okay, I get it, yeah.
Right,
like you,
right.
I mean, you didn't give her a gun. Move. I don't know. You should have figured that out.
Right.
Chicks dig guns.
Yeah, and you're using like little Sasha as like a fucking spy, and he's dumb as fuck. He's the worst spy ever.
This 10-year-old boy who loves German chocolate. You know, that's his weakness.
Yeah.
So
right.
You're sending him out. Yeah, just like whatever, you know. And but at the end though, it's like when they you know they get to that final battle, which is really badass, in that train yard and everything like there and whatnot. And then he shows up and he's like, I guess he goes to tell. He's like, oh yeah, by the way, like Tanya got hit by like artillery and shrapnel, so she might not make it. Just letting you know, but I'm here for you, and you know what? I'm sorry about all that stuff. I'm going to show you where he's at. Pokes his head out, boom, gets blown in the head. He's like, there you go, now you know. And then Ed Harris thinks that he thinks he got him, so he's coming out to collect them dog tags, and lo and behold, this is where Jude Law can kind of get the upper hand on him and sneak out there. And I just love that scene when he knows, he's just like, go for it, you know, you got me. Fair and square. It's
a cold moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just turns and faces him, just like, go ahead, do it.
Yeah, but it's just one of those ones. So it's like, yep, you literally bested me on this here, and that's you know we're gonna do it. He was like, I did hang that child up for you to come find me.
Yeah.
So. Great. Right. Let's be honest. Sasha he had it coming. I know he's only 10 years old, but you know he's doing some dirty work out there.
That's also what the Nazis did. That's like what they did. Like they are a harsh people. They believe in punishment.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, Sasha, you weren't a traitor, so you know what? I'm gonna kill you now.
Yeah. And I get it. It's like one of those ones when it comes down to like those sniper battles. It's like one of those ones you're going to use any tactic you want. Like it's literally like do or die out there. You know. Why
don't we have more good sniper movies?
I don't know, because it's like I was thinking about that too. It's like snipers are kind of. It's like a rare thing. There's American Sniper.
And you got Sniper with Tom Berenger and.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Fuck, what's that dude's name? God damn it. He's in Titanic. He's in the Lightning or wherever that fucking shitty the Spectre or something. I want to say David Blaine, but that's so wrong.
Yeah, I do kind of remember that one. But yeah, it's kind of weird there's not tons of sniper ones. There's like that book that Hideo Kojima talks about that I remember like, I don't know what it's called.
Billy Zane. There we go. Damn it.
Billy Zane. There we go. Yeah. But that book, I remember like Hideo Kojima just really liked this book. And it was literally just like 400 plus pages just of like one sniper battle of these guys just spending like a couple of weeks just waiting for each other and so on. I remember he's like, just imagine if that scene in Metal Gear Solid 3 when you have to battle like the old sniper dude and whatnot like that.
Yeah, the end.
Yeah, he's like, what if that took like 10 days, like of real time? It's like, no, Hideo, pump the brakes on that there. Like, I don't think anybody wants to go that long.
If you do 10 days and you save your game when you get to the end and you wait 10 days, I think it's 10 days. I'm pretty sure it's 10 days. If you start the end fight scene, save, and then leave your game and 10 days passes, when you log back in, the end dies of old age.
Oh, you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I think, and that maybe that ties into that book. That's like almost like how he's like, okay, well, I can still get that, but you have to do it that way. So you can literally outlive him or something like that. Granted, I always do the ass thing where I just go run around with the shotgun and wait for him to pop up and then blast him. Like the most sniper battle thing you can do.
One of my favorite things I ever did to the end was I snuck up on him, like found where he was at, and then I had like a cobra or like a tarantula or spider or something poisonous that I kept, and I tossed it on him. I just thought it was so funny.
Did it bite him and poison him?
Yeah, and then he just runs off. It doesn't do shit.
No, yeah.
That's a fun fight scene, though.
I like that one there because that's one of those good like moments in a video game I can kind of think of that has a cool sniper battle. Of course, you also got Sniper Wolf as well. Speaking of Russia,
that's a fun one. What is it?
It's
Sniper. You have the. Why can't I think of his name? I hate him so much. Aikido guy, Steven Seagal. You have his snipers. Yeah, you have his shit sniper movies.
What is his snap? I don't think I've ever seen it. Is that one of those?
Oh, dude, there's
Seagal ones.
They're so fucking fat Steven Seagal films.
Yeah, because I hate to start saying it, Steven Seagal only has maybe like a 6-year run of like good movies, and then after that, like
100%.
And I like that. I like that. Like give or take 87 to like 95. Like those movies are great. I love those Steven Seagal ones. You know what I mean? You know, it's even that one. It's like even I feel like you just take Steven Seagal for what he is. He's a goofy guy. He's like, I'm the best at kung fu, the best martial artist there ever was. Nobody's better than me. I'm Steven Seagal.
He's so dumb. He's so dumb.
I'm the sexiest man alive, but nobody realizes it.
Yeah, I hate him so much. He's so dumb.
He's like
I love those old films though. Hard to Kill, Above the Law, Under Siege 2. Not Demolition. What's it called? Glimmer Man and Fire Down Below. Those are like his good movies.
They're all great, yeah. It's like it's one of those ones like in that time period, like and he is almost getting some bigger budget movies than even a lot of the other guys, like Jean-Claude Van Damme and so on, Dolph Lundgren. Like there was a period where they were putting some money into Steven, and then like it dips real fast, like past 95.
Well, he was probably such a twat to deal with.
Yeah, I think he was. There was a book I remember reading that was like a bunch of different action guys, and they're like, yeah, Steven would just do some weird things, and nobody could really. It's like it was hard to talk to him, and he kind of had his own thing, and then he would get these ideas that he wanted to have in the movie that didn't really work for stuff, but like it's like, well, he's Steven Seagal. I guess we just got to let him do it. Like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, so I think that kind of happened.
What's your favorite Van Damme film?
Ooh, that's a.
I'll go first. Mine's Sudden Death.
That's a good one. I just literally watched that just the other day.
Fucking love that movie.
Because that's what makes that one cool is that's like the Die Hard in like a hockey arena type story.
Oh, so great. I watched it because I watched they made a remake with Michael J. White.
Really?
Yeah, dude. And it's fucking good. It's good.
Because that one's a good one. I like that a lot. I also like Hard Target. It's like right around the same time period. Hard
Target's good. Universal Soldier, how can you not like it?
Yeah, how can you not like that? And of course, I always like Bloodsport because that's always a classic.
Bloodsport's amazing. The Kickboxer and Lionheart.
Yeah, Kickboxer's really good. Has a great soundtrack in that one too. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones there. But yeah, tons of the good ones.
Michael J. White is in the remake of Sudden Death, and it's so good, dude. I love him so much. Michael J. White is
he's always
amazing.
Excellent. Just the fact that like is it still like a hockey arena or they changed the sport?
Yes.
Still hot. It's even better that's hockey. I think that's what I like most about it because like if it was any other sport, it would be interesting, but it's way cooler that it's hockey.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's hockey. And I think in this one, he's like a security guard or something.
Yeah, because that job can be kind of switched around to anything like that, you know, fire
Right.
marshal, security guard, whatever. But yeah, you know, Enemy at the Gates, action movies, all kinds of fun stuff. I like how it leads us, because it's like, hey, we saw this movie in school, and then I reminisce about those school memories, you know, of being like, you know,
Right.
the enemy of the gates of school.
Yeah, right.
Being forced to do the train to go across the Stalingrad and all that stuff. But I think it's one of those ones that's like well worth checking out if you've never seen it before. I think the action's super good in it and just really holds up so well.
Right.
Just the whole time in it, like, it was just like, I was just so like, oh, I'm in. Like, it's like one of those movies where like you throw it on and you're totally engaged. It's not one of those ones you have to kind of like warm up to or anything like that. It's like, oh, no. It's good right off the bat. The action's excellent. All the actors are good too,
And
even if they're
the cat and mouse part with the German sniper and Vasily Zaitsev, you know, Ed Harris's character and Jude Law. You know what I mean? Like that whole cat and mouse thing, like it is, you got some good where they really build that tension.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's well done.
Yeah, no, just I think just the back and forth struggle and battle and just the like waiting for that. There's even that part too where like, you know, Jude Law literally gets like trapped and he gets his gun blown away, so he's behind like a stove or something like that, and he's just waiting it out. And if it wasn't for Rachel Weisz showing up there, I don't know what he would have done, to tell you the truth.
Oh, he would have been fucked.
Yeah, they would have. He would have had to like see who could like last like hunger wise, you know, the longest. But she shows up, of course, and then blinds him with some glass, you know, like a reflector, and he's able to grab the gun real quick and so on. But there's so many of those cool, tense moments throughout the film. It's just so good, you know. I'm glad we went back and watched it again because, as I said, it's been a while. As well as once I watched it a lot back in the day, and then it's just how it is nowadays. I feel like you don't think about it, but like it's really quickly. It's like there'll be movies and be like, wow, I haven't watched that in over 10 years. It felt like it wasn't that long ago I saw it, and then next thing you know, there's too many movies out there. You know what I mean? There's always something else to watch. So it kind of happens that way. But yeah, Enemy at the Gates. It's kind of a hard one to find. It's like they don't really have it on any other streaming or anything. I think what'd you say you watched it on Pluto?
Yeah.
So, you know, you always have that. They just have. I could have swore I have this DVD right here, but I could have swore I bought this on Blu-ray at some point to rewatch it, and I could not find that to save my life. So I saw that it right when we talked about doing it, it went on sale for like a digital copy. I was like, yeah, I'll just take that then. Whatever. If that's there we go. I wouldn't mind having this anyways, just for watching it at any time. So yeah, it all kind of worked out. But yeah, Enemy at the Gates. Check this bad boy out. Till then, go check out any of the Old Man Orange podcast stuff. You can find it on YouTube and Spotify and all that. But I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And Josh.
And we'll see you some other time.